Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Her Game 2 podcast. For you regular listeners, you may have noticed that I am not Clayton Fernandez. I am standing in for the lovely Clayton as he enjoys a well-deserved break in Milan watching Arsenal. So I'm your host, Caz May, for today, and apologies, I'm not as sweet and fluffy as Clayton is, and I may be a little rusty, but I will try my best. What will help, though, is my fabulous guest for tonight. I'm pleased to welcome the woman of many titles. Take a deep breath for this one. So we've got co-founder, Birmingham City ambassador and chief marketing officer of Her Game 2, the lovely Emily Drakeley. Hi, Emily.
Hi, you right?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. I bet for the listeners, it's quite funny having two Southwest girls on the podcast today. The accents are coming through thick and fast. So,
Yeah. It's funny for us as well, obviously, because we're so professional in our day-to-day life, but this is quite different dynamic for us to have a chat about everything Her Game 2 in a more casual format.
Yeah, 100%. Very different, but I'm excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been buzzing all day for this. So let's dissect your titles one by one then. I guess we should start from the very beginning of it all, co-founding Her Game 2. So if we just give our lovely listeners a bit of an overview from your perspective about co-founding Her Game 2. So when I approached you with the idea, obviously we met on Fat Lads Go and Goal podcast a long time ago, and funnily enough we were addressing the issue of sexism at that point as well, and Mark, the host of Fat Lads Go and Goal, was amazing in his stance on sexism and very, very supportive of us as women. And I find it really interesting that sort of how we came to meet was us discussing sexism way before Her Game 2 became a thing. So when I approached you and said, this is the idea I have of starting Her Game 2, what was going through your mind and why did you initially agree to be a part of it?
So for me, it's kind of a funny story. So at the time, I was actually really, really unwell. Well, you know me, I've always been very, very open about like who I am and my struggles. And I was struggling with almost like a mental health crisis at the time. I was really depressed, really struggling. And it was a really bad time in my life at that point. But I think your message came through at the right time. And I always say that it was the start of a turning point for me and finding something to belong to, I think. So, yeah, when you messaged me, my initial thoughts were, yeah, this is brilliant. 100% want to do this. And then obviously I was poorly. So I remember I was the last one to get that video in. And I was like, oh, whoops. But I was so like 100% behind the messaging. And I remember us thinking that it wasn't going to go any further than just the video.
Yeah.
But no, it's crazy, isn't it? Like I remember I was in the bath the day that we put the video out and my phone was just going bing, 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 bing. And yeah, it took me a while for it to sink in on actually what we'd done and what we'd achieved. And I wouldn't have thought 3.5 years ago that we'd be sat doing this right now and we'd have C-suite level titles. Like that's crazy, right?
Yeah. And I remember you being so ill at the time, so unwell. But I was so determined to have you as part of that video because of everything that we went through pre Her Game 2 and the way that we both had the strong stance against sexism. Like I knew you were going to be an amazing asset for Her Game 2 and I wasn't gonna let us go ahead with it without having you involved. So I remember having to be patient there, but I absolutely didn't mind because obviously here we are now, which we'll get onto a bit later. So when you got involved then, what experiences have you had? Sort of what is the main driver that made you think I want to tackle this issue?
So I come from a small town near Forest Green, so FGR is the local team for me, and I grew up on top of a hill where there was no football around. I wanted to play football. I was told no, and actually there might be someone that's better to speak about this than me. So give me 2 minutes.
Oh,
And I might be able to get a special guest on.
oh, this is great.
Just
Yeah,
turn my
go for
camera off
it.
quickly.
This is totally unplanned, but I love this. This is Emily Drakeley all over. Just a cheeky little surprise here and there. I'm going to guess it's her dad, but I'm not 100% sure. Only because I know Papa Drakeley has done a lot for Emily. So excuse me while I just talk. Oh, she's back. Hey, it's Papa Drakeley.
Bring the chair over. Do you want my chair?
It's my chair.
Oh, sorry. You are much taller than me.
Okay.
I love this.
Tiny.
Hello, Graham. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Caz. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. This is unexpected but wonderful.
Can you see the resemblance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same lipstick on. Yeah.
No, this is great, and I think this is a perfect way of telling this sort of story, because my dad, myself, like in my family, my dad has been the one who used to drive me around when I used to play football, and we found it really difficult sometimes to find somewhere to play because the pitches would have been given to the boys, or the opposition wouldn't be able to field a team because there weren't enough girls with interest. So I'm interested actually, what from your perspective, Graham, sort of what it was like having a football mad daughter and the opportunities and barriers that Emily sort of faced growing up.
Oh, it was great actually, because I love football as well. So my wife doesn't, but actually to share passion with Emily and also her brother, it was great. So we, I got the opportunity to take them to a few games. And that was lovely for me, because you always want to take your kids somewhere, something that you enjoy as well as a dad. You like your children, hopefully, to like the same thing as you do. And Emily loves football, which is great. And so that was all good. She was keen to be involved. And I suppose the first time we ever had any issues, because never had any issues, went to see some England games. I also, my work, I got some tickets to see Bristol City, and so I took Emily and her brother along occasionally, dragged her along to see some proper football.
Not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, Caz is the Bristol Rovers fan, by the way.
Apologies. That's Caz's problem.
Yeah.
So, and that was always, it was a great atmosphere. I think, but it was all family orientated. I think the biggest issue was when you wanted to join the Valencia tour, wasn't it? And this was a school trip for Emily's age group, where they were going to have, I think, 5 days training at Valencia, get to see a game. And Emily loves football. She loves Spanish. She was teaching herself Spanish. So it was a great opportunity. So the letter came out to us, and so we applied, didn't we? You wanted to go, we applied, and then you got a letter back to say I think 43 boys were going, and the 2 girls who wanted to go weren't going because they were girls, effectively, which didn't go down too well. And clearly Emily was upset about that, and so was I, because it wasn't very forward thinking of the school. So I wrote them a little letter pointing this out, and the fact, that is discriminating, not just on the football side, but the wider experience side as well. Yeah. It was a polite letter, but, to the point and pretty firm. And to be fair to them, I think when they saw it in black and white, they realised what they'd done. So I don't think it was really intentional, but then they did move heaven and earth to then make it happen, so that you two young ladies could go and watch, not watch, but go and partake, do the football training, get the experience, and go and have a great time. I think that is just it. It's raising the awareness sometimes that people make decisions and they don't realise the impact they're having. Maybe, I could understand you've got 45 people, 43 are boys, but it's easier just to take the boys and organise that. But actually, with a bit of planning, they were able to cater for Emily and her friend. And I do appreciate they have to provide certain ratios and cover, etc., but they sorted that to their credit when it was pointed out to them. And from then, I think that sort of helped them turn a little bit of a corner in terms of their focus.
That's honestly so interesting. I think I can't believe I haven't heard that story before, Emily. That's honestly, again, just another example of why we do what we do. And there will be many girls out there that may have had similar setbacks, and their parents might not have challenged it like you did. So I'm sure, Emily, you are eternally grateful to your dad for challenging it at the time.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's always something that I almost took for granted, having you and mum being such strong supporters of me, because I was asked this when I was doing something for a university student. When was the first time you saw your parents stand up for something they believed in? And I've seen you do it many a time, but mum's first time was when she wanted to keep the maternity hospital open in Stroud, and she took me along in a pram. So I've always had very strong parents, I'd say, with strong morals, and I suppose that's where I get it from.
Well, it's about doing the right thing, and the game of football is a wonderful game for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah.
Across the whole spectrum. And I love football, but I'm passionate that everyone else should get to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And what were your thoughts, Graham, when Emily told you about her game too for the first time and that she was a co-founder?
I was amazingly proud of all of you, all the 12 of you. When I saw that video, I was playing it over and over again to get the number of views up on Twitter. But it was fantastic, and I'm amazed by what you've done. And I don't know if Emily's mentioned to you, but I recently retired from work, and as part of my last meeting there, I got to organise the agenda, and I actually arranged for Emily to join the session and do a presentation on her game too. And that was a really proud moment for me. But that helped raise some awareness. Most of my team, wider team, are female, and it was a brilliant reaction. That's a super proud moment for me. And when I go and see the Her Game 2 signs on the side of the pitch, and all that sort of thing, it's great.
Yeah,
really proud of what you've achieved, and what you're continuing to achieve, because you could have just stopped at the video, and that would have been quite easy, wouldn't it? Make a point. But now, 3 years down the line, in terms of the breadth of what you're doing, and the people that you're helping, it's great.
Give me goosebumps. This is lovely. What a lovely addition. Thank you.
I was in when I went to Forest Green recently. There's a Her Game 2 sign in the toilets. I've been at the Warsaw Stadium for something else, or a work event, and there was the Her Game 2 sign in the men's toilets.
You can't escape us.
No, but that's great to see it being embraced, and the way it's going. So more power to you.
Thank you. I mean, we knew when it first started that this wasn't going to be a short-term thing. We were committed for the long haul, and we were having conversations at the start about, don't be disheartened, girls, if it doesn't take off. We're going to keep going. If it takes 5 years, if it takes 10 years, we're going to do this. And I think we're just lucky, aren't we, Em, that it took off the way it did, and we got the response that we did.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that you are volunteers. You've got your day jobs to do and your lives to lead, and I see how much work Em does on it. I'm pretty sure that you guys do the same amount, as a lot going on, a lot of effort behind this.
Yeah.
And it's great to see how it's blossomed.
Yeah, we are exhausted, but it's so worth it, right?
But you should all be proud, but then actually you can't afford to rest on your laurels, can you? Because there's still so much to do, but things are improving.
Yeah. Slowly but surely. Thank you so much, Graham, for your support. Honestly, it means a lot to us. That was such an unexpected, lovely little segment to this podcast. Clayton's going to be jealous because he's going to say, that's never happened in my podcast. So yeah, thank you so much, Graham. Honestly, it's fantastic and great to hear that Valencia story. I think just we've never heard that from Emily herself, and it was great to hear that from you and your perspective. So thank you.
Keep going. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I'll let you get back to football now.
Bye.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you for that. Honestly, so wholesome. And I think our families are a bit forgotten about, I guess, or not forgotten about, that's probably the wrong word, but people aren't aware of how much they do us in terms of supporting us and keeping us going. And we've had some horrendous days and times that I'm not going to delve into now, but our mental health has been on the floor with some of the abuse that we've had to put up with, and our families, our partners, they've just been there start to finish to support us.
Yeah, and I think actually I wasn't going to mention it, but I think I will mention it actually, Caz. So one thing that I've experienced throughout this as a woman, well, not actually as a woman, more as a general fan, is, and you're right, the impact that it has on families. So recently there was what I can only describe as a Twitter onslaught that I faced, and my dad was brought into it through pictures of me and him when I was 20, after making a joke about my partner's. Well, it's complicated, right? You'll get to my story and you'll understand why, but my partner's now my team. And that was really sad, because you can throw all you want at me, but don't bring my dad into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's awful when people use social media for awfulness, but we try and make it so much a better place and safer for everyone. So yeah, bit of a sometimes it feels a bit like, oh my God, very overwhelming, but it's so worth it. The benefits are so worth it for everyone and all the young girls involved. So
yeah, like you say, like we put ourselves out there and we're aware that our faces are there, not that we deserve the abuse, like far from it, but when our loved ones get dragged into it, it just hurts 10 times more because we didn't throw them out there. So I totally understand that. So on the note of Her Game Too, like obviously we've done so much in 3 years, and it would take us probably days to go over everything we've done sort of step by step since the launch. So let's just say we've done a lot, and obviously we are very proud of the work that we've done. But do you ever think, what if we didn't do it, and what life would be like if Her Game 2 didn't exist? Do you ever vision that and think what it would be like?
Yeah, I do actually sometimes. And like I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that when I was really, I've had a history of mental health issues, shall we say. And I always didn't feel like I belonged, right? And I later on found out that partially it's because I've got very strong autistic traits, but also because I just didn't feel like I had this community to belong to. And as someone with these traits, it's really hard to bond with people, or if someone breaks your trust, it's really hard to like build trust with people again. And then with Her Game Too, I found like a home. And I found this amazing group of people who belong the same way as I do. And we've built this amazing community. And I think without Her Game Too, it sounds really cheesy, but I don't know what I'd do with my life. It's just, I am so, it's so embodied in me now. And I live and breathe it. And every like waking moment, there's something on my mind to do with the campaign. And it's not my day job, but it's my like life passion. So I don't, and it's what I always thought I'd end up doing some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I can't imagine my life without it, and it's a much worse place.
Yeah, I think it's I'm the same. It's like having a child. Like once you have it, like you can't imagine your life without it. So yeah, it's wonderful, it's wholesome, it's our passion, it drives us to do amazing things. And I think you're right in what you said earlier. No matter what we go through in terms of the backlash or the abuse, it actually ultimately the positives outweigh those negatives, I think. And I wonder, like some of the stuff we've seen, for example, like the first ever female referee in the Premier League, like would that have happened if we didn't kick up a fuss about this sort of thing? I'm not sure. The increase in female fans, so obviously estimated around 3,050 new season ticket holders in the EFL female. Again, like I like to think that we played a part in that. I guess we'll never know fully if we did, but I would like to think we've made that much of an impact, whether it be big or small, that we have made a change for girls and women. And we know that we've managed to successfully get women's teams playing at main stadiums. Like that is a fact. So yeah, I think it would be a much worse place for women if we didn't do what we did. So we should be proud. And I hope you are
just
proud.
a little bit,
yeah. So aside from co-founding Her Game Too, obviously you went straight into the role of the Birmingham City ambassador, which essentially means that you are the point of contact in Her Game Too and the club. You keep that relationship healthy. You hold them to account for doing things they shouldn't be doing, and making sure that they are sticking to their word, and sticking to that pledge that they made to sign up to eradicate sexism. So what would you say is the best thing that you've worked on with Blues, and how is it being the ambassador for your favourite club?
It's honestly a dream come true, and it sort of leads back into my previous answer as well of I didn't have a place to belong, and the first time that I really felt like I sort of belonged in football was when I went and got my season ticket with my now fiance James. He's a diehard Birmingham City fan, and like my dad alluded to, I went to a couple of games with him growing up. I had a Bristol City shirt, but I never really had that. Sorry, I know, just not your thing.
It's all right. If you never had that connection with Bristol City, I'm all over
it. And I wanted so much to belong, but I didn't feel like I belonged. But when I went to Birmingham, it just a penny dropped. And I think it was because of James and the family connection that I had now had, but I also just really felt quite safe there. Birmingham's always been a really diverse place and really accommodating for everyone. So I think that was a great start. But being the ambassador for my club is the most special thing in the world. And I think I like to think I'm very open-minded, and anyone can come talk to me and anyone can raise anything with me. And because I'm quite a bit of a strategist, I sort of think like 6 months in advance of what should we be doing together to sort this out, and I'm always trying to speak to the club and say, oh, what can we do, and they have been absolutely phenomenal. The work that we've done has been unreal. I mean, they launched a whole merch line for us and when we go to home or away games, every game now we see someone in one of our pieces of merch, and we'll always be pointing them out and saying, and it's normally young girls or families, and it's just the loveliest thing ever, because actually we've given them that community spirit and like feeling of them that they belong. And that for me is the 100% the point, is the belonging aspect. And being able to speak to the players and to get them to understand what we've gone through. And because male allies are so important, as we've seen this evening. And to have a professional footballer come up to me and say, I want to be a part of this, in Luka Jukovic, that was one fangirl moment, right? Because he's been my favourite player for years. But also a big eye-opener to, okay, footballers are listening to us. They understand what we're about. And then the club fully back that. And for me, that's just the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I remember when you told us that you did the presentation to the squad, and I just thought, well, that is absolutely amazing. And it's something I would like all of our ambassadors to do, because we don't want the players just to put on a shirt that says Her Game Too. We want them to understand, this is what this means. And this is the reasons why we're doing it. And thankfully, we are starting to see more players coming forward and publicly supporting us, which is great, because like you said, male allyship, we can't do this on our own. Like we need men to help us and support us too. So yeah, eternally grateful for that, and very jealous of your amazing experience. It sounds great. What type of reports would you say you've had to deal with at Blues? Obviously, you're welcome to go as deep into them as you want, or just brush over them, because I know that some reports are quite difficult, especially as the ambassador, to receive them and have to deal with them. So are there any reports that you can think of at Blues that have been particularly difficult to deal with?
There's one that sticks out on the top of my mind instantly. And that was, we played Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was last season, and Rebecca Welsh. Yeah, no, completely different thing.
Wrong Rebecca.
No. Rebecca Welsh was the referee, and there was a chant of she's got chlamydia. And that was reported, and the police went in straight away. Now, things like that are a section for a public order offence. I hope I've got that right. If not, I'm probably going to get in a bit of trouble from my police friends. But what that really means is it's inciting hate or intimidating someone with a threat of violence, really. And it comes back to the point where you think, actually, would you chant this to a man? No. Why are you chanting this to a woman? Because you're sexualizing them. And then it's all the historical connotations behind language. And for me, it's all about education. So someone might sing that and think, oh, it's just a bit of banter. But all it is a lack of understanding on what these words actually mean and what the wider connotations are around things. So like saying someone's a dickhead, that's although it's male anatomy, it's used for both men and women and anyone, because of the wider connotations of it being used for the word idiot. So actually it's more like an academic thing. But anyway, I'm not off topic, but the wider understanding wasn't there, right? So that was reported to the club, and the club dealt with that really quickly. And these fans ended up getting a banning order. I haven't heard that chant at Birmingham City since that day. And what that says to me is either people are too scared to chant it, or people have actually understood that it's incorrect and it's wrong. And I really hope it's the latter.
Yeah.
And we've only had reports from away fans whilst we've been at St Andrews since that day, which shows actually that it's within the minority within Blues. It is in most places, but it's within the minority. But that minority are learning. And that's where we want to go. We don't want to throw the book at people. That's not what we're about. We're about educating. And if you hold your hands up and say, sorry, I realise now that that was incorrect, I apologise. That's all we want, and people to move on and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have to agree with that. I think education is the only way that we're going to actually see progress, because just banning someone is just going to make them angrier and they won't be learning anything. And when their ban's lifted, Lord knows what they might do then. So yeah, 100% agree with that. Obviously, we were Kick It Out as well, who do a lot of education around these things. So from a Her Game 2 perspective, we are always here to help with education, and we will never judge anyone if you have said things in the past. And I do think that's sometimes where the anger comes from when we're challenging it, because people are guilty. But it's okay to have said things in the past, and language has obviously changed quite a lot over the time. So we are open to educating, and we aren't as aggressive as you think we are when it comes to tackling sexism. So that's really interesting. And you worked with the West Midlands Police on that, didn't you? On the education side of things.
I work quite closely with them on educating our ambassadors and the wider police force. So every quarter, Lizzie Lewandowski, Kat Clinton, and I run a forum for police in the local area, organisations such as Kick It Out, and our Her Game 2 ambassadors and advocates. And it's all about raising awareness for what you can and can't, what you can report, and what actually constitutes a criminal offence. So whether it's a civil offence, or whether actually the police can get involved, because I'm going to do this here. For those of you that didn't know, I went on Sky Sports about a year and a half ago and discussed that sexism isn't a hate crime, and it should be. I still fully believe sexism should be a hate crime because it's a form of discrimination. However, at this current point in time, it's not. However, there are laws around sexism to protect and stop violence against women and girls. And that's something that I think the wider public aren't aware of. So we're hosting something that hopefully will be live by the time this podcast goes out, that we'll share later on. An awareness of what is and what isn't sexism, and how you can report it, and the wider piece. So yeah, do a lot of work with them. It's great, it's amazing, and I've never, apart from with Her Game 2, I've never worked with two more powerful, strong, incredible women than Lizzie and Kat, and they have my back 100%. And if we ever need anything as a campaign, they're the first people I go to.
Oh, it's incredible. And I think it's what your dad said earlier, is people not realizing everything that we do in our spare time. And that is another thing. It's like another string to your bow sort of thing. You know, you've got
spare time,
the West Midlands Police and educating. It's incredible. And like, you are probably the reason why people are starting to become educated at Blues as well, which is great. So you should be really proud of that. So just to sort of end this, we'll talk about your final title at Her Game 2, which is obviously a very recent title after we announced our restructure. So my fellow chief on the exec team, alongside your full-time job, this is something that you do in your full-time job, so you are very clued up and knowledgeable on this anyway, but you have now taken on the role as Chief Marketing Officer for Her Game 2. So talk to me about why you wanted this role and how it's going.
So I think it's going quite well. Like I said before, I'm a huge strategist, and I think a lot of people see marketing as the colouring in department, and it's not. There's so much more behind the scenes than what you see out the front. And for me, I'm very logical, like I mentioned before, strong autistic traits. Things have to have a process, and there's a way of doing things. And also for me, a huge part of Her Game 2 and the importance of Her Game 2 is building people's almost portfolios, giving them the experience, excuse me, that I didn't necessarily have when I was at university or when I was early on in my career, and I want to give that back. So I love marketing. Marketing is my bread and butter. I live, breathe, dream marketing. The other night, I actually was talking in my sleep, and James said you were talking about a marketing campaign with ASOS, and I was like, I don't work with ASOS. You can work with me if you want, ASOS, but no. So marketing is my jam. I studied football business and media at UCFB Wembley, so my degree's in football business and media. So I've got, and that had marketing within it. So I had a strong understanding of football marketing to begin with. Then the last couple of years of my career have been marketing focused. I've just finished my second degree in marketing. So it's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really wanted to sort of bring my stamp even more so than I already have to the campaign. And there's, because of where we want to go, we want funding. We want to ensure that we can give as much back to grassroots as possible. And we want to make sure that our name gets out there, because the more people that hear about Her Game 2, the more people we can help. And at the end of the day, if we only ever help one person, then our job is done. But the bigger reach we've got, the better. So I built a strategy all around helping that. And I'm nerdy, so you probably tell by my answer, I go here, there and everywhere, but it all comes back to the central point of I love marketing. I know what I'm doing. It's just like within me, and it's instinctive for me. And I am very black and white. I know the PR rules, I know the laws, you name it. There's a lot of PR that I like to do. But yeah, it's just, it makes me happy. And it's the one area in my life where I can say, yeah, I'm good at it.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I think for us as well, it was an absolute no-brainer for you to come in that role. I'll hold my hands up. Some of the stuff you talk about, I'm blown away by the language because I have no idea what you're saying. But it's great because I think, people have their own expertise, and that most certainly is yours. And that role was never going to go to anyone else because you're perfect for it. So yeah, no, thank you for being in that role and for taking Her Game 2 forward. And you've already done so much. So you've built your own marketing team where everyone's got all their separate roles. So tell me a bit about that. You really wanted to offer the opportunity to people that are already within Her Game 2.
Yeah. So I think there's, what I've noticed as someone in marketing is there's a skills gap. And it's something that I want to support the wider footballing world with as well. There's a bit of a differentiation between football and normal marketing, but actually that gap needs to be bridged. And I think through passion, you can learn the basics of marketing. So there's some people in my marketing team that have no experience whatsoever. And that's okay, because I want to create a safe space where we can foster empowerment. So we've got someone that she's worked in a formal career, let's call it that, for the sake of this topic, all her life, but she now wants to develop and learn a new skill. And I'm more than happy to give up my time to train her up on that, because I think it's really important to give back. Also, she works really, really hard and she's great at her day job and her Game 2 job. There's also some people that are part of my team, and I will name this person, Laura. So Laura has worked in some incredible jobs. She's a social media editor. She knows her stuff. She knows when to post, what to post, hashtags. She knows even more than me. And reached out to her and was like, right, okay, I'm building this team. Would this be something that you could support with? And she was like, 100%. And she's already made such a difference. So, and we've got such a wide range of people on our team. I could talk about each and every one of them because I think they're all brilliant in their own individual way. But I really hope we can grow the team. Eventually, maybe in a couple of years, I'd like to get on some work experience and things like that. Like my own uni, you know, as an alumni, I want to give back and do what I can. And one day maybe I can even train people properly. I don't know, but I think Her Game 2 is so much more than just a campaign for raising awareness for sexism. We're this whole unit of passionate people that have got their own individual strengths, and we can move people forward in their careers and their lives collaboratively and together. So that's what I'm about, really.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I'm all for giving our ambassadors the chance to take on roles that might be a little bit out their comfort zone, or if they're willing to learn, because like you said, we're fostering that community where we do support and we bring up the talent that we've already got and make them into better people and develop their skills that they can go out into real life, I should say, or working life, and take the skills they've learned from Her Game 2 into there. And I know there have been a few ambassadors that have mentioned Her Game 2 in their interviews and on their CVs, and they've had feedback from their employers after they got the job to say that it made a big impact. So we're really pleased as co-founders that actually we've been able to give that back to some of our volunteers, because they absolutely deserve it and they work so hard. So just to end this amazing pod, I've absolutely loved this. Clayton's not getting his job back. So next steps for Her Game 2. So obviously we never stop. We've always got things up our sleeves. So obviously this Friday we are going to be launching a new branch in collaboration with EA Sports. So I might as well say what it is actually, because by the time this comes out it'll be announced. So we have, by the time you listen to this, launched Her Game 2 Gaming with EA Sports. And we also have the new First Time Fans program with EA. So Emily, do you want to just talk about the mission of First Time Fans and why we're doing it?
Yeah, First Time Fans is what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where we understand as a campaign that there will be people that either haven't been able to go to a game for years or they can't afford to go. And we want to make sure that, or just haven't been interested, right? So we want to make sure that we give that opportunity for fans to be able to go and attend a game and experience it. And it's great for the clubs as well, because you're getting new eyes, new people through the door. Sorry, that was very marketing-y of me. New people through the door and new fans potentially. And that, for me, that's fantastic. And the fact that EA Sports are partnering with us on this, I mean, I've been playing EA Sports games since I was about 7 years old. So this is like, wow, huge. Okay.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. But full credit to them, because they've been fantastic. And actually, we wouldn't be able to do initiatives like this without their backing, because it's a lot. But yeah, so big credit to them. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely echo that. Without EA Sports, we wouldn't be able to offer these opportunities. So the Saturday just gone, by the time you listen to this podcast again, we will have done our very first pilot, which is at Brentford FC. So obviously Brentford as well being very open to the idea. And we have offered 8 women and girls tickets to their first ever Brentford game. It's a lovely mix of mothers and daughters to mum and daughters the other way, sort of. When you say mums and daughters, you think of like little girls, but not necessarily. We've got an older daughter, an older mother who watch Brentford on the TV whilst their dad and brothers go to the Brentford games live. So it's a nice mix of people that have always wanted to watch Brentford but have never got the opportunity, whether that's down to the atmosphere, feeling slightly intimidated, having no one to go with, or not being able to afford it, or not being able to get tickets. So as an organisation in collaboration with EA Sports, we're really, really pleased that we're able to give that back. And in terms of the gaming side of things, we are going to look to build a Her Game 2 gaming team. So if there is anyone who's listening to this that might want to get involved, please do get in touch with us. And instead of that, we're going to be looking forward to March. International Women's Day is on a Saturday this year. So big plans, Emily, to do our dedicated fixtures as usual.
Oh, and you know what? It's my favourite time of the year. Every year, it's the most stressful time of the year. It's more stressful than Christmas, let's be honest. But I'll tell you what, though, every time I see the families and women, regardless of their age, and everyone all together, it makes it so worth it because, and I'm sure you've seen this at Bristol Rovers, the increase in women attending games, you see it year on year, and you're right, I think there must be some way that we can align it. But I genuinely think that our movement has initiated that increase, or at least helped to support it. So yeah, no, it's really exciting. And then for me, there was a little talk of trying to get into España, and like my dad said before, me encanta España, hablo un poco español. So Real Madrid, we'd like to work with you. But yeah, no, I think the world is our oyster. It really is. And there's so many dedicated people around the world. And we've obviously got ice hockey, cricket and rugby as well. I'm always looking for more people to get involved in those sports as well. And then obviously gaming as well, which is, you know, it's like we've got the Infinity Stones now.
Yeah. So. Honestly, if anyone wants to get involved, we're going to need you because we are growing rapidly once again. Like Emily said, there are talks of Her Game 2 Spain. We've got Her Game 2 Gaming now launched. We've got many different sports and more sports probably to come because we just get stories all the time sent to us, people reaching out to us about sorts of like sexism that's going on in each individual sport. So we would love to hear from you. So just to wrap this up then, Emily, I think it might be good for you just to plug your public speaking in case there's anyone that might want to take you on for public speaking. I know it's a new adventure that you're taking on alongside everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, wow. I didn't expect this plug. No, so if you can't tell, I absolutely adore speaking. I'm really confident, really out there. I'm redheaded, not naturally, so I'm really easy to spot. But I like to think that I can tailor my the way that I interact with people dedicated to the audience. You book me for birthday parties, player awards, whatever you want. But no, at the end of the day, I think it's something that I love to do and love to get more experience doing. As much as I love doing podcasts and everything, I love people and I love being around people. So yeah, I do have a website. I'm sure Caz will drop it in.
I'll drop it in the bio.
Thank you.
In the link.
But no, it'd be great to hear from anyone. And thanks, Caz. That's really fun.
That's all right. I know you weren't expecting that because I didn't tell you I was doing that. But it was because midway through this, I was like, she speaks so well. And then I had a light bulb moment of mentioning it at the end. So sorry to throw you in the deep end there, but absolutely should be mentioned that is what we're also doing. So thank you so much, Emily, for your time tonight. Honestly, you've been a lifesaver jumping on this pod. When Clayton sent us the SOS that we needed to find a different host and find a guest ASAP, Emily to the rescue. So thank you so much. And if you enjoyed listening to this pod, please do like and subscribe to Her Game 2. Your contribution to the podcast means a lot in terms of our reach. We're obviously very new to this. I think this is episode 9. So we're still building the podcast. So any likes and shares from you guys would mean a lot to us. So yeah, to wrap that up, I just want to say thank you so much, Emily, and speak to you soon.
Thank you, and speak to you later.